Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for coming to Foundation Course 7 on the Bodhisattva vows. And today we've got quite the class. I must admit, I'm a tiny bit nervous about it because there's so much to cover. So fasten your seatbelts. But before we get started, let's bring to mind why it is that we're here. What brought you to take this course? And what brought you to come to class today? So take a minute to get in touch with your wish to become completely enlightened in whatever form you have it. Just make it as clear and heartfelt as you can right now. In the prayers, Sashi Puki Jukshin Metog Drum Rira Blingshin Yende Gempadi Sangye Shindu Mikte Owarki Joku Nandak Shingla Chupar Sho Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. Sangye Chiran Soki Chuknam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kapsu Chin Daki Chishe Kipe Sunam Ki Jola Penshir Sangye Juparsho Sangye Chiran Soki Chuknam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kapsu Chin Daki Chishe Kipe Sunam Ki Jola Pinchir Sangye Druparsho Sangye Chadan Soki Chukdam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chishe Kipe Sunam Ki Jola Pinchir Sangye Druparsho. So today we start our, we finished talking about what bodhicitta is, what the wish is, uh, how we need the wish if we want to become enlightened, if we want to serve others, if we want to benefit others. We've talked about the 16 root downfalls and the specific conditions that are entailed to actually break the vow. We've talked about the 4 chains, the 4 attitudes of mind that must be present in order to break. I'm sorry, did I say 16? I meant the 16 that you need 4 chains. And then there are actually 18 root vows. So there are 2 vows, root vows, which you don't need to have the 4 chains present in your mind. And now we're going to start talking about the 46 secondary offenses. So these are not as serious as the root vows. But before we get started, does anyone have questions from previous classes? Okay, you'll just jump in as per usual. Make this a little bit bigger. There we go. I'm going to bring you back over here. And where is my chat? There. Okay, good. Now we're all set. So, secondary offenses, they're called nyeche. Please say nyeche. Nye means bad, and che means did. So nyeche is doing something wrong, and it's the name for the secondary offenses. And we've talked about what the main difference is between breaking a tsatung, breaking a root vow. You lose your vows. And with these, you don't lose your vows, but you do you do damage them. You can restore them. The structure or how these secondary vows, are presented are they're sort of divided into they're divided by the 6 perfections. So this first set of secondary vows that we're going to talk about are they go against the perfection of giving. So that sort of helps us think about these secondary vows. Okay. The first one is called Kunchok Sumlamachu. It back over here. Kunchok Sumlamachu. And this is the secondary offense of failing to make offerings to the jewels through the 3 doors of expression. When we see Konchok Sum, normally we think about the 3, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Or we think about, like we do with the refuge prayer, the tradition is to recite it 3 times. Here, what we're talking about is making offerings or not. The offense is to not make offerings much in 3 ways. And the three ways are through body, speech, and mind. Um, so Jetson Kappa says that at a minimum, we need to do some kind of physical prostration. This is a physical prostration, right? Or there's the full prostration where you touch your crown of your head, your forehead, and your throat, and then you get down on the ground, and there's different levels of that as well. Um, but this is also a physical prostration. Just hold your fingers, hold your hands like you're holding a jewel inside, like you would if you were holding a jewel, so that everything is touching. And then I don't know if you can see, but your thumbs are sort of tucked in, holding in the jewel. So that's how you hold your hands to do a prostration. So at a minimum, Jason Kappa says we should do some sort of physical prostration to you can do it to a statue of a Buddha. I have one sitting, I can't reach it right now though. I have one sitting on my desk. Um, that's the first part. Verbally, with your speech, it means any kind of, minimum 4 lines about about the three jewels. Um, Thinking about how each of them is of benefit, how each of them is a protection against behavior that would continue our suffering in the cycle of existence, right? And then uh, with your that's with your voice. And so there's prayers like the ones that I did before class. And then with your mind, which is to think about uh, and make offering with your mind uh, about uh, the good qualities of these three jewels. When we go for refuge, like we use the word Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, but the real refuge is thinking about the jewels, the jewel of the Buddha and the jewel of the Dharma and the jewel of the Sangha. And we've talked about that before. What the difference is, they're the realizations of or the state of being perfected, or the realization of the direct perception of emptiness, and to those who have attained that level. So with this secondary vow, we need to make offerings in those three ways at least once in every 24 hours. So that's the first of the secondary vows. We're going to do our best to cover 16 of them today. So I'm going to move quickly, but of course, oh, I lost my chat. No, there it is. If you have questions, please do ask, okay? The second secondary offense is dupe senki jesu jukpa. Dupe sem. Sem is mind or thoughts. Dupa, which is desire. Dupe sem, thoughts of desire. Thoughts of something that you want to have. Could be lustful thoughts. It could be thoughts about what you're going to have for whatever your next meal is. Jesu juk, that means to let it go on. So the second secondary offense is to allow thoughts of desire to go on. And Jetson Kappa gives 3 examples. The first is dupa chewa, which means excessive desire for something. Then secondly, the second example is chokmi shepa, which is the state of mind that is never content, that is never satisfied. I have met people who have this kind of mind. Like, it seems like no matter what's happening, there's always something they are unhappy about, dissatisfied with. It's a very sort of miserable state of mind. And then the third one, his third example is attachment to other people's honoring you or your good reputation. Like, this is especially important for people who are teaching, right? I guess the danger is you get used to being honored and you become rather attached to it. So is it wrong to have those thoughts? It is wrong to have those thoughts in the sense that it is a negativity. You are planting negative seeds for some kind of suffering. But it's not necessarily breaking this secondary vow. This secondary vow means you let it go on. You don't fight it. You don't struggle with it. So, and this is an interesting one we're going to see in a lot of the secondary vows that, and we talked about this last time too, I think, that the struggle that we have with, well, it's practice, really, isn't it? We're practicing how to restrain ourselves from creating negative seeds, from creating negative actions. Where this whole practice of this path is learning how to keep ourselves from harming others and ourselves too. So we mess up sometimes. We get angry about things, or we get jealous. Whatever your favorite negative emotion is is the one that happens most frequently. But if we're working with it, which is the path, if we're struggling with it, even if we do something negative, we don't break this secondary vow, which is related to desire. If we're fighting it, if we're actively working to restrain ourselves from this negative emotion of desire, which is a strong one. We're in the desire realm. We really like food and sex, and we let ourselves get sort of like strung along by the nose by food and sex. But if we're working on trying to be satisfied with what we have and not crave things, then we're not breaking this secondary vow. So it's not like just about wanting, I don't know, your favorite treat for dessert or something. It's allowing those thoughts, those strong desires to go on and on and on, because if we let them go on and on and on, we are setting this stage for ourselves to do something to get it that would harm ourselves or someone else. The third secondary offense is called Gempa Namla Gupar Mijepa. And Gempa means elder, someone who's older. Nam, when we add nam at the end, it just means all elders, or plural. It's a pluralizer. And gu means to respect, and mije means not to do. So the third secondary offense is failing to pay respect to our elders. And here, elders doesn't mean all people who are older than you, which is normally how we think about the word elder. Here, it means people who have taken the bodhisattva vows before we did. People who have been on this path before we joined. So there's also this tradition in among the monks and nuns communities where when we take our vows, like I took my full ordination vows with Venerable Kading and Venerable Sunam. So the three of us were taking vows together, the full ordination, and they had to when Geshe Michael and Venerable Jigme they gave us our vows. They were our ordination masters, and they marked the time. Okay, Venerable Kading has her vow right now. And so Venerable Gyaltse was our note taker, and she wrote down the time. Okay, Venerable Utpala has the vows right now. Write that down. Venerable Sunam has the vows right now. And so now we are forever in this order. Venerable Kading, and then me, and then Venerable Sunam. So if we are, walking through a door, Venerable Cunning goes first. And then I go in, and whenever we are sharing a meal, we make sure that Venerable Cunning takes the first bite. Like that. It's just a tradition. But in the practice of the Bodhisattva vows, it's not only, you know, paying respect to that person who is, and this is part of it, they're keeping their vows well. You're not only respecting that person in their practice, but you're in a way respecting the entirety of the Bodhisattva path. When we honor those who are practicing well and have been practicing longer than we have. So that's the third Bodhisattva vow. The fourth is Dripa Nam Lalenmin Depa. Dripa Nam Lalenmin Depa. Dripa means a question. Len Min Dep, that means not answering. So the fourth secondary vow is failing to answer a question. So we break this vow when either we don't give an answer to a sincere question, or when, you know, we give an irrelevant answer to someone's question. Either way. So if we give an answer, it should be a serious answer. It should be addressing what it is the person is asking of us. The questions could be about Dharma, or question could be about anything else. It doesn't have to be just Dharma questions. So by not answering someone's question, it's disrespectful to them, right? They have some sort of curiosity or need to know something. They're asking us because they think we can answer their question. And if we don't answer them, we're basically saying, you know, you're not important. But remember, our practice of the Bodhisattva path is to have deep compassion and love for every single living being there is, equally. So we can't go ignoring this one and that one. That would be working against the mind that we are trying to create. So there are some exceptions. And so these are called nye me. So we just had nye meaning bad, right? But me is one of those negative words. So these are things that while they are not planting great seeds, you're still planting negative seeds. They don't break a secondary vow. Those were called nyeches, right? So this is nye me. You may have heard the word mixel. That's a word we use in Vinaya when we're doing Xiaoping's text, there was a lot of talk of mixed cells. So, for example, one mixed cell for me is I'm wearing layperson's clothes. I'm a fully ordained nun, and I have a vow to wear robes. But I also have a mixed cell. I have a direction from my teacher to wear layperson's clothes because of the situation in which I live, the little town in which I live. It would be harmful to some people's mind to see me walking around in robes. It's also why I don't have a shaved head. If I lived in another country where, I don't know what's in my teacher's head fully, but my guess is he would say that I have to wear the robes and shave my head. So for this secondary vow of not answering a question when asked, and it's actually for the one before it as well, of not showing respect to elders. For both of them, if we're sick and we just, we can't raise our hands to show respect to our bodhisattva elder, or we just can't think straight to answer someone's question. That would make it not breaking those two secondary vows. We don't break this vow if we're asleep or not quite clear in our minds. If we didn't truly know that someone had asked us a question. And also there are, during certain situations, like when we're teaching the Dharma, and it would be an interruption to the flow of our teaching, then it wouldn't be breaking this secondary vow to say, I can't answer that right now, or please hold your questions till later. That wouldn't be breaking the vow. If you're attending a Dharma teaching and someone who's also attending the teaching asks you a question, and you don't answer them, you're not breaking this secondary vow. If showing respect to a bodhisattva elder, if you're at a teaching and showing respect to them, like everyone's sitting down, but you want to jump up when this bodhisattva elder walks in the room to give them honor, or even, putting your hands together. If it would be disruptive to the class for you to be doing that, then it's not breaking the vow. And then the last Nyeje that he mentions is one, named May, that he mentions, exceptions. pretty much applies to all secondary vows, but we have to be very careful about it. It means if we want to teach that person a valuable lesson, then we wouldn't be breaking the vow. If we're aware that the person who's asking us a question, or the person who is our elder, maybe we see them as having a problem with pride. I mean, maybe they've even talked with us about it. And if we didn't show respect when they walked in the room, or we didn't answer their question, and we have in mind the thought that we want to teach them about pride, we want to allow pride to like arise in their hearts so they can see it clearly, or whatever we see as their problem. Doesn't necessarily have to be pride. But if we're in some way doing this little act of disrespect to someone for the purpose of it being a teaching for them, then we're not breaking this vow. But we have to be very, very careful. We have to make sure it's not our own pride or our own laziness or our own whatever that's really going on here. Like, what's our motivation? Our motivation in this particular nyeme, in this particular exception, is that we're very aware of what the other person like is working with in their own practice, and our sole motivation is to help them because we love them. It's not because we're lazy or we think we're better than them or something like that. When we talk about breaking these secondary vows, especially, there can be two, I guess, motivations is one way to put it. But basically, we can be either mentally afflicted ourself, nyomong chen. We have negative emotions in our minds at the time, nyomong chen, or we don't have negative emotions in our mind at the time. So what are the main examples of breaking a secondary vow with a negative emotion would be if you have anger and you don't want to respond to the person because you're angry at them or you're angry about something else. Other examples of a negative emotion being the motivation for not answering or not showing respect could be trado, jealousy, chokpa, desire for something. Like, oh, I'm not going to respect you. I see chocolate cake over there. I'm heading for the cake. Or I can't answer your question now. There's pizza over there. Or whatever. And then nusem, which is malice, right? Some thought of harming others. But to be and then some examples of not having a negative emotion. It could be just forgetting, which is chenge, or it could be lelo, could be laziness. So it's not like with those two, it's not like your mind it has a negative emotion at the forefront that's driving you. So does that mean that if you have a negative emotion in your mind, you break the vow, and if you don't have a negative emotion in your mind, you don't break the vow? No, you still break the vow. Um, it's just whether or not you have that negative emotion in your mind. The fifth secondary offense is, where are you? There you are. Chumpu dakir mije. Chunbu means guest, like at a hotel or something. Dakir mije, it means to not agree to be, not acting as. And this is the secondary offense of failing to accept an invitation, not accepting a sincere invitation. It could be related to Dharma. It could be related to anything. If someone invites you to their home, someone invites you for dinner or something, a bodhisattva has to accept the invitation, has to agree to be the guest. Now, let's talk about the niemes. Not accepting has to be done with some sort of pride or anger in your mind, or out of laziness, just not feeling like it. So your mind is inflicted whether your mind, you break your secondary vow, whether you are angry, afflicted, or not afflicted, just lazy. Apparently, if you forget, you don't break the vow. So if you're sick, you do not have to accept the invitation. If you have already accepted an invitation for the same time period or the same reason or purpose, you do not have to accept an invitation. If it's too far to go, or it would be very difficult to go, or dangerous to go, you do not have to accept an invitation. If we're aware that the person who's inviting us has some sort of bad motive, some bad intention, like they want to hurt us when we get there, or they want to put us in some compromising position, then we do not have to accept the invitation. And in very, very extreme cases, if we want to teach them a lesson, if we want to like somehow divert the person from doing a negative action by refusing to be their guest, that last one, we have to be very, very high spiritual practitioners in order to do that. So, why would a bodhisattva have to accept every invitation? If they're healthy, if it's not a dangerous situation, if the person is sincere, because again, we're on a path where we are opening our hearts to everyone equally. So it's really more about us and our behavior or relationship with other people, that we're taking down the boundaries that we put up between ourselves and other people. Another nieme is if you are engaged in some sort of virtuous activity. You're helping your teacher do some project, or we're preparing to teach a class, or we're doing some virtuous activity. That is an acceptable excuse. But I think it's always good to, when someone invites us to be a guest at whatever the situation is, that we show gratitude for being invited, right? So that we can still work on opening our hearts. The sixth secondary offense is ser la sokpa len miche. Ser means gold, like the precious metal, gold. La sokpa means etc. And gold and all the others. Like sometimes gold, ser la sokpa means gold and then precious gems. And sometimes it means gold and other fine metals. So I guess here in this case, it could mean either set of things. And len miche means not to accept it. So someone comes and offers you a plate of gold, you have to accept it. If you don't accept it, you'd be breaking this secondary vow. So it means gold, etc. means money. It means things like how someone may offer people give books like any gifts, like books or dinner or clothes, a car, a house. If someone comes to you and sincerely makes an offering as a bodhisattva, again, We should accept it. We should respect their desire to make an offering. We should rejoice about their desire to make an offering. Rejoice in them completing that karma, making a complete karmic path without any sort of pride, without any sort of thought that we deserve it. It's about the other person who's making the gift. That's why we accept. Now, there are, again, some yemes, some exceptions. If you know that you would get attached to the thing you're being offered if you took it, then you are not breaking the vow if you don't accept it. So I'm trying to think of something that's like close to this in my experience. Someone offered once, they offered to take me for a pedicure and a manicure. And I had never been to a place where someone gives you a pedicure and a manicure. I always thought it was sort of silly. I can cut my own nails, thank you. What's the big deal? But then I went, and oh my gosh, it feels really good to have someone wash your feet and take away the dead skin and trim your nails. So, but I didn't know before I accepted, but now I know. Oh, that one I have to watch. I might become attached to going for regular pedicures. More seriously, if you think that the person who's making the offering would later come to regret it, would later come to have second thoughts, then we should not accept it. And this does happen a lot in the Dharma when people, when we first come into contact with these teachings, and hopefully always we hold them in such high regard, they are the very thing that if we practice these teachings, we can get out of suffering. We can reach a state where we can help all other beings. So they're priceless. We're moved to give away everything we have in order to get these teachings, or to plant the seeds. Like, we'll give away all we have. But as practitioners, we're taught, and we'll see this when we study the Bodhisattva's, or the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, that we shouldn't give like before we're ready to truly give. We can't give away all our money if we're living in a situation where we have to take care of ourselves, or we have responsibility to take care of others in our family, to provide for them. It's not responsible for us to give away all of our money if we have kids and they're going to want to eat tomorrow. What will we do tomorrow? So if, as a bodhisattva, you see that someone is intending to offer you something that may be out of their reach, maybe something they will regret, it's it's a good thing to not accept the offer. Um, it would not be breaking this vow if you suspect that what you're being offered has been stolen from somebody else. You're not breaking the vow if you believe that what they're offering you has already been offered to someone else, or it's already been dedicated towards some other use. It would not be breaking this vow if you think that any kind of problem could arise from your accepting it. So, for example, if someone were to offer me as a bodhisattva nun a crate of whiskey, that would be a problem for me to have a crate of whiskey in my home. If someone were to come and visit me, they'd be like, Paula, what's with the whiskey over there? You're a nun, for goodness sakes. So, or offered me a weapon or something like that. Something which, if I accepted it, even if I had no intent to use it, if someone were to see that in my possession and then some doubts would start to arise in their mind about the practice of the Dharma. So it's okay to not accept things if they would freak other people out. The seventh secondary offense is Chindupala Chujinmije. Chindupala, that means to a person who wants Dharma, Jinmije, you don't give it to them. So this secondary offense is failing to give the Dharma to those who wish it. Sounds very familiar, doesn't it? It sounds very much like the second root vow, which is failing to give Dharma or material assistance. Chunamiter. So the difference between these two is in the motivation. So the root vow, it was about attachment. Serna or chakpa, either of those two words. To not give Dharma because you're attached to it is very nasty. Like you're attached to being the person who knows the most Dharma or something. It's just nasty. In this case, with regard to the secondary vow, it's any other motivation, any other motivation, like anger or jealousy, although that's getting close. I have to watch it. Anything other than attachment, basically, and we're breaking this secondary vow. Rather than breaking the root vow. Okay, so there are exceptions that Nyeme are if you're sick. If you're sick and you can't teach, you don't break this vow. If it would help a person turn towards virtue and away from doing something non-virtuous, then it's okay to not share the Dharma. So, I mean, that's a little tricky if that one would ever arise. And then also if in very extraordinary circumstances, because of your high practice, you know it would teach them a lesson. Now, here, Jason Kappa gives a list of people who are asking to receive teachings. If these kinds of people ask to receive teachings and you do not give the Dharma, you would not be breaking this secondary vow. Okay? The first is you're asked to share the Dharma by someone who is only interested in criticizing you. They just come to a class, or they just want to catch you as the teacher in a mistake, or to just be totally critical about the content of the Dharma. You don't break it if the person asking is just come to be disrespectful, if they're not asking in the proper way. If the person is not sitting properly. We don't have this issue so much on Zoom because normally we only see a person's head, but most of the time you only see a few people on your screen, so you don't even know what most people are doing. They say that in Dharma classes we should be sitting upright, spine upright, attentive, not leaning against anything, not slouching. And that's for reasons that are very similar to meditation. We're wanting to keep our inner body, keep the energies flowing properly. Not all about just respect. Also, if you know that the person won't understand, like if you know that the person is asking for a teaching that's like way above their level, like the person just came across the Dharma very recently and they want to know about how to do some esoteric tantric practice. You would not be breaking the vow if you did not share the Dharma with them. If you know that they would freak out if you taught them what it is they're asking for, like there are some things that, I mean, in my experience, and of course this is a reflection of my karma, that the teachers like we asked many times for a particular teaching, and they were all very skillful in how they denied giving us this dharma. But it's like we weren't ready for that teaching, and so the teacher did not give it to us. So, and we know how to plant seeds to change that, right? For ourselves. If the person has a lot of bad views or wrong views, it's okay. It's not breaking this vow to not share the Dharma. If you know that the person is just like they're just asking out of some sort of intellectual curiosity, if you know that they're not going to take the teachings into practice in their life, they won't really be listening or have any intention to follow the teachings, then you're not breaking this vow to not share. If you think that the person might get some sort of bad attitude that would make them behave more negatively than they otherwise do, like some children, if they're doing something like, I don't know, like banging on a drum, and you're trying to read, or maybe it's dinner time and they're banging on the drum, and you say, it's wrong to interrupt people, we're trying to eat, or we're trying to have a conversation. Please stop. And you say please stop, and then they only do more, or they get louder, right? Because they have some view that they have to push kids are looking for limits, like where's the limit in behavior? But some adults are like that too. So if you think that the situation is going to be like that, then you don't break this vow if you do not teach them. Also, if you know that the person would take the information and spread it to people for whom it would be improper to have the teachings. So this is especially about, I think, emptiness and also Diamond Way teaching. It's as we learned about teaching emptiness to a person who's not properly prepared. If you think that, if you teach that this person is going to do that, to break that vow, then you don't break this secondary vow if you do not teach them. Diamond Way, it's secret. It must be very well protected. And it's for a very similar reason to one we've talked about before, which is if we are not well prepared, if we don't take those teachings and practices seriously, we can have some sort of negative thought about them we don't understand. And that plants a very negative seed in our minds. And so we want to prevent other people from planting negative seeds by disparaging the teachings. You know, they shut their minds down, and when will they have the opportunity again to receive those teachings? Okay, now I got to really race. I'm halfway through today's material. Oh, we finished one group. We finished the secondary offenses that are against the perfection of giving. So now we'll go to the secondary offenses against the perfection of morality. Okay, the eighth secondary offense is Sultram Chelnam Yawarndor. Sultram is morality, right? Chelnam means people who have broken their morality. Chel means to be dirty or broken. And Yelwarndor means to reject, to ostracize, to kick out, to avoid. So this is anything, whether it's having broken their tantric vows, their bodhisattva vows, their layperson vows, any of the 10 negative actions, even not having to do with Buddhism, if they've killed their mother or their father, or they've done something horrific, embezzled millions of dollars from charity, we can't ignore people who have done really negative things. We can't reject them. Again, this is about us opening our hearts to all living beings. All living beings. We can't help only those who are, trying the hardest. We have to keep our hearts open and look for ways to benefit those people who have done really negative things. Jason Kappa says that they're residing in the cause of suffering. They're going to suffer for what they did. There's you're not going to help things out by ostracizing them. Now, it doesn't mean that you should let people talk you into doing negative things. Doesn't mean that at all. It also doesn't mean in a Dharma center situation, there are times when a particular person who's done something needs to be isolated from the community for a period of time for the good of the whole community. But this is not talking about those times. So the exceptions with regard to this secondary vow are if you're a great bodhisattva and you want to teach them a lesson, you can ostracize them or ignore them or kick them out. But of course, high bodhisattva. The other exception would be if by getting close to this person, you would be alienating other people from the teachings, then you wouldn't break this secondary vow, if you did not associate with them. So so that's that one. Okay, I gotta move on. Okay, horse race. The 9th secondary offense is I'm gonna just go quickly here. Paro de chirlotniche. Failing to follow the rules which lead another person to develop faith. So we have to talk about this a little bit. Failing to follow the rules which lead other people to develop faith. So there are certain rules where, for example, monks and nuns have a vow to not eat after noon. And if you're a bodhisattva, if you're a bodhisattva nun and someone invites you to a late lunch or to dinner, you have a bodhisattva vow to not refuse invitations. You have a nun's vow or a monastic vow, or if you've taken one-day vows, you've got a vow to not eat after noon. So what do you do? So if you're in a place where it's like it's obvious that you're a monastic, and you're in a place where people know what the monastic vows are, and they're very familiar with them, if you were then to accept the invitation and go out to dinner, and others would lose faith in all of Buddhism because they see a nun going out to dinner with someone. So that would be the kind of thing that would be failing to follow the rules which lead other people to develop faith. The 10th secondary offense is performing deeds which are only of lesser benefit for all living beings. Semchen Dunla Chawachung. Chawachung means not doing enough. And what this is related to is the vows that the Buddha created for monastics. To keep their lives very simple, not having a lot of things, a lot of possessions, not having a lot of, not having any money, not touching money, wearing robes. It's the same robe. There's no need for a closet, really. To keep things very simple, so that a person who's taken these vows has the support for their meditative practice. And So you can think about like monastic vows or pratimoksha vows. There are some that are proscribed, meaning the Buddha made them a vow. And then there are some that are natural, like the 10 negative actions. Most of those are accepted by people, by all religions, and by most people, whether they practice a religion or not, like not killing, not stealing, not lying. I mean, pretty much we all think those are bad things, whether, before we came into Buddhism, we thought that. So there's the set of, we can divide the vows into those that are natural, like the not killing, not stealing, etc., and those that are prescribed, like not eating after noon. So for those of you who are doing the homework in Tibetan, the the vows that the Buddha made to protect other people's faith, so they wouldn't lose faith in the Buddhist teachings. That's called Shen Sem Sungwa. Shen Sem Sungwa. And then the rules that are for not doing much at all, keeping very quiet and not having a lot of possessions and so on. Those are called Dungdong Jawa Nyungwa, which means they're done for the purpose of keeping things quiet for you. So this group here, the Shensem Sungwa, those that are done for the benefit of not harming other people's faith or trust in the Buddhist teachings. It's very important. Like I said earlier, if they were to plant negative seeds by thinking badly about the Dharma, it's going to be all the more difficult for them to hear teachings in the future. So the vows that are for restricting, for being nice and quiet for yourself, a bodhisattva who has pratimoksha vows of individual freedom, they should not we shouldn't restrict our activities, basically. So monks and nuns are keeping quiet, they're keeping inward. Those vows that are related to that, keeping quiet, keeping inward. Bodhisattvas are all about opening up, right? Doing lots of activity to benefit others. And so there's a vow, for example, that I can't have more than 1 yard of cloth, and I can't keep the cloth for more than a week without making a robe out of it. Where a bodhisattva um, would want to have as much cloth available as possible in case someone needs cloth. Like Venerable Jigme is my prime example of a person who practices this purely. Um, she has she has the great gift of being able to give people whatever they need at the moment. Like she has things. And if you need something, she's got it and she'll give it to you. She's always doing this. And it's not like she's attached to any of these things herself. It's not like she keeps them because she likes pretty things on the shelf. She she collects things in order to benefit people as much as she can. It's really beautiful. Mm. Um, so I have to make a decision here. Oh dear. There are, see, 11, 12, 13, 6 more vows, and I've only got 4 minutes. Let's see. Well, I'll do one more and then I'll try really hard to uh, let me think about what's on your homework that might be hard to answer. Well, I'll just do one more and then there we have it. Okay, so the 11th secondary offense is called failing to break a rule out of compassion. And this is actually the most dangerous bodhisattva vow there is. Failing to break a rule, to break a vow out of compassion. Um, and this refers mostly to the 7 natural bad deeds, which would be the 3 of uh, body and the 4 of mind, right? Those of body, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, and those of speech, lying, divisive talk, harsh words, idle chatter, wasted talk. Um, there is a prerequisite for a bodhisattva to, well, we should say that this vow only applies to certain bodhisattvas. And those bodhisattvas are, first of all, they have perfected their practice of the path, the bodhisattva path, for trillions of years. They are highly realized beings. Second, uh, they have extraordinary insight into when it's necessary to do something strange or unusual to help another person. Thirdly, they have ultimate great compassion. They have no distinction between individuals. They have this love and compassion for everyone equally and deeply. They have bodhicitta. In other words, 24 hours a day, all day, every day, they're thinking about benefiting others. Um, those come, yeah. So those are the prerequisites. That's the kind of bodhisattva this vow applies to. And the classic example is, I'll just tell this story quickly, is one of the Jataka tales, one of the tales of the Buddha when he was in an earlier life, when he was a bodhisattva in an earlier life, and he saw a ship. It had 500 people on it, and he saw these people on the ship, and he saw that he could see this one person on the ship was planning to murder all 500 people on that ship. And so, out of compassion, he killed that person. He saw that there was no other way that he could act to save this person from creating the negative karma of killing 500 people. That's why he did it. He did it for compassion for the person who was planning to murder 500 people. So hopefully we will talk about this more. And I apologize for not making it through all the material. I will work very hard. I will endeavor with all my might to get us back on track and cover everything that you need in order to understand. So I apologize for going over time. I apologize to live translators because I know I've been speaking particularly quickly today. But thank you all for being here. Thank you, live translators. Thank you for your practice. Please remember to dedicate after class. And I'll see you again in 2 days.
Thank you very much.